Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Jan Roberts in South Africa here. And we have started a series on values, basic human values. Now, yesterday I started off with the value of connecting, and today I'm going to talk into the value of listening. Now, as I explained already, what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit about the value. I'll talk about the benefits of living the value, the characteristics of somebody who actually lives the values, and also some steps to follow to get better in the value. So I hope that makes a bit of sense, and if you've watched yesterday you probably know that already. But today I want to talk about listening. Now, as I say, these are basic human values that we should all be able to do more of, because it is the most basic of all human needs, is the need to understand and the need to be understood. The best way to understand people is to actually listen to them. That was a quote by Ralph Nichols. Well, as far as I'm concerned, having done a lot of personal development training and coaching training especially, listening is the most important skills we can learn, as everything around us depends on it, if you really think about it. Now, my question to you is, do you think you're a good listener? See, if you could rate yourself right now from 1 to 10, 10 being that you're the best listener you've ever met, and 1 is that there is let's say, a lot of room for improvement. So how would you rate yourself? And if you're not sure about that, ask your spouse or your children or your best friends. They might give you a different answer than you might have in your head, because I think it's one of the things that we usually overestimate ourselves in this skill and underestimate everybody else until we more fully understand what listening actually is and how we can become better listeners. See, I thought I was one of these great listeners I just talked about until I started coaching studies many years ago. Now, I was actually spending a lot of time in hotel rooms through the work I was doing at the time in the oil industry, and I loved studying personal development. People called me a personal development freak, which I thought was a compliment anyway. But I loved all stuff to do with personal development and leadership and training, and I came across coaching not by accident, because I don't believe it is coincidence. But when I started coaching training, I had to attend two hours a week, and because I had so much time, I spent 10 hours a week on the coaching training for 2 years. And it was one of the best things I ever did, and I really started to understand what listening was actually about. Being present, fully present when somebody talks, without disturbances like a mobile phone and all that kind of stuff. And it really helped me a lot in communicating better with people, because communicating well is not about talking as much as it is about listening. And we could all do more with it. So if then we go to some of the benefits of a good listener, is, when you're a good listener, you will learn and grow as you seek out and listen to the valuable knowledge and experience of other people. And also you will gain favor and influence with people, because they know that you actually care about what they say and how they feel. So that benefits alone should be worth just to invest some time in learning to listen better. And as I say, all these values we work on as values-based leadership specialists. Myself and Artie are just 2 of them, and there's others online at the moment as well, like Keith in the UK and some others. But there are 2 pages, and we do this 1 value a week, which really is invaluable to personal development as far as I see. It's one of the best personal development programs. That's why we call it sustainable personal development. And then there is some characteristics that of a person who is a good listener. And one of them is that these people are eager to learn. And I hope all of you are eager to learn, because if you're not learning, see, you don't stand still. It's a case of, and I mentioned it already, if you're just going through life and hopefully the things turn out for the best, what can we do? None of that nonsense. No, I hope you are growing through life, that you are actually actively investing time and, if necessary, money in yourself to become a better person today than you were yesterday, so you can walk into tomorrow better prepared. So They continually look for the opportunities to grow in every situation and in every conversation. Now, in leadership training as well, we talk about it that great leaders, they learn a lot more when they listen than when they talk. And it's how they build relationships. But that's a whole different matter for another day. But also the characteristics of a person who is a good listener. Another one is these people develop the relationships at home and at work. They make others feel valued and important by listening deeply to their needs and desires. Now, people of value value people. And what better way to do is than work through the values ourselves. So if we incorporate them in our daily lives better, I don't say we don't. I mean, we all listen, as we think. Most people only hear more than they listen, but we all listen to some degree. But if we can just improve that most important skill, then we need a few steps to follow. And I'll go through just 2 of them today. But I just want you to get an insight every day into a value that might be valuable to you. It might not be every value that you really want to practice, but I would recommend, do something every day that improves you in every single value that you come across. Basic human values. Don't have them hanging on an office wall, where they're in a fancy frame where most people don't know what they are. They can't recite them. They've been chosen by one or two or maybe 3 or 4 people at best in a little room, and then it looks nice on the wall. No. These values, they should come off the wall, as they say in our program. Take them off the wall and put them in the hearts and the minds of people, beginning with the people at the top and all the way down. And it's wonderful when you see the transformation. We'll talk about transformation in Lebanon at another day, but what is happening there with all the amazing people there and in other countries like that is undescribable at the moment, but it fills my heart every single day. So here's a few steps for you to follow to become a better listener. Are you fastening your seatbelt? Are you ready for this? Do you want to become a better listener? Because if you don't want to become a better listener because you think you're perfect, I think you're in trouble. We should the biggest room in the world, I think Arthur already wrote it on there, the biggest room in the world is a room for improvement. And I include myself in there every single day. The first one is, if you want to become a better listener, stop doing what you're doing, make eye contact with the person who is talking to you and fully engage. So give that other person your undivided attention. Set aside emails, phone calls, and other potential distractions. If you're a parent, you've had, Dad, and they're telling you something. Yeah, I'm listening. And they're standing there, Dad, you're not listening. Yes, I'm listening. You're doing your Facebook or whatever else you're doing. They need you to talk, to look at them and actually give them that attention. My grandmother was an amazing example that I remember this very warmly, and I mentioned her in this value. Somebody is good at it, and why? And that was my grandmother, because when I remember clearly when we were little, she was a wonderful plump lady, and I couldn't sit on her lap anymore. But she would set me down in front of her, and when she was ready. Because if she wasn't, she wouldn't say, no, I'm listening. No, it says, I'm busy just now. And then she sat me down and then she says, now, Jan, tell me what you've got to say. And I always had plenty to say. And I still have to this day, but I remember this vividly and with fond memories. Then another one is that avoid the temptation to think about what you're going to say next. Instead, pay attention to everything the person is saying before you formulate your answer or your response. Now, I hope that makes sense as well. So, I used to be in the oil industry, in the oil and gas industry, and I used to be at meetings where the meeting was an hour and a half and it could have been done in 20 minutes. But people were so busy formulating what they were going to say next that they never listened, and some things were repeated 2-3 times over because people wanted to impress. And it's not about being impressive, but being impressed by what other people are saying. It is not about being interesting, but being interested as much. I hope those things make sense, but I hope these few things will help you. So stop what you're doing, set away distractions, make eye contact with the person, whether it's a little person, you might even have to go down to their level rather than look down at them. Go down on your knees and look at these people or lift them up and talk to them. But respect the person in front of you fully and give them their undivided attention. And also don't start thinking about what you're going to say next, because the other person will know that you didn't listen. I mean, somebody once said, when we talked about the value of listening afterwards, he said, well, if my wife asked me tested me about something, that we had a conversation, and if afterwards my wife gave me a test, I would fail miserably. So I hope she never does. I said, well, rather than hoping she never does, why don't you start to listen a little bit better? That might be very impressive. So for me, the question every day I'm going to ask you, now you know a little bit more about listening and how well or not, as the case may be, you're doing. We can all do with a little bit of improvement. What will you do from now on? What will you do today? Because don't put it off until tomorrow. We all have things we are going to do tomorrow. Don't put these things off until tomorrow. We actually do this on a weekly basis with one value and set ourselves an action step, because we know the knowledge you get is not power, knowledge acted upon. So my final question is on listening. Not are you a good listener or are you not? What will you do to improve your listening skills today? So what action step will you take, and make sure that you implement them? And once you do that, watch out what difference you will get. You really see the difference in the people in front of you when you actually start to listen, because they find that normally I haven't even got it, oh, it's actually on now, where's my phone? There it is. But that you have a phone in your hand, or they see you're distracted, and you might as well say to them, anything. Like I've said to people in the passing, just to test them. I said, people say, how are you doing? And I said, well, I'm dying, but for the rest I'm okay. Oh, great to hear. And I thought because they're so used to people just saying, I'm okay, or I'm not okay, and they just say okay, and they walk on, yeah, me too, and they walk on. They never say. But when you start talking to people and they say, how are you? And they say, oh, I'm fine. No, how are you really? And listening. See, one of the best things we can do for people is to give other people our undivided attention at any age. Give somebody your undivided attention today, and I will see you tomorrow with another value. Take care.